On March 10th, Edward turned 62. His life has taken a remarkable turn. From being a constant target of the tabloids, he has become perhaps the most respected member of the Windsor dynasty. Today, he rarely gives cause for scandal, keeps his distance from family feuds, works hard, and, unlike his brothers, is genuinely happy in his first and only marriage. And yet, Edward remains shrouded in remarkable myths. At Gordon Stanton School in Scotland, the youngest son of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip did not excel academically. However, after enrolling at Cambridge, things took a turn for the better. Edward earned a degree in art history and became seriously interested in theater. But royal title dictates its own strict rules, and in 1986, the prince enlisted in the Royal Marines. Just 4 months later, in January 1987, Buckingham Palace stunned the public with the news. Edward was leaving the elite unit. The press office emphasized that it had nothing to do with his health. For direct heirs to the throne, military training has always been a sacred duty. Prince Philip served in World War II and rose to the rank of commander. Charles and Andrew held the same rank, with the latter personally participating in the Falklands War. The tabloids immediately pounced on the runaway, dubbing him the weeping Wimp of Windsor, and claiming that military service had proved too much for the pampered young man. And when it became clear that the prince had traded his army boots for the theater stage, the press went into overdrive. Paying no heed to the jeers behind his back, Edward joined Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber's theater company, and in 1993 founded his own film company, Ardent Productions, focusing on the production of television film. Fans of Princess Diana love the conspiracy theory. What if Diana had chosen a different brother? Compilations of archival photos remain popular on social media, showing Edward gazing at his sister-in-law in a peculiar, almost hypnotic way. People recall his wistful look at Charles and Diana's wedding, and later his sincere tears at her funeral, which broke with strict protocol. 2 years after that tragedy, in 1999, Edward married Sophie Rhys-Jones, who, let's just say, bears a striking resemblance to Diana in both appearance and dress style. This was more than enough to fuel the wild imaginations of fans, although there is, of course, little real evidence of a romance. Perhaps Edward really was a much better match for Diana than the domineering Charles. Both were gentle, shy, the same age, and in love with art. But in reality, Lady Di was much warmer toward the rebellious Andrew, with whom she literally played in the same sandbox as a child, and toward her fourth cousin, Sarah Ferguson. It's hard to believe today, but in 1987, members of the British royal family ran an obstacle course in front of millions of BBC viewers while dressed in ridiculous costumes depicting medieval knights and giant vegetables. In the charity TV show It's a Royal Knockout, organized by the Prince, global stars, from John Travolta to Tom Jones, put on a spectacular show. During filming, Prince Andrew, in the heat of the moment, tried to push the burly rock singer Meat Loaf into a water pit and nearly got punched in the face. The musician unceremoniously grabbed the royal by the lapels and snapped, "I don't give a damn who you are." The scene was, of course, cut during editing, but Meat Loaf himself recounted it with a laugh in a 2003 interview. The producer and mastermind behind this madness was Edward himself, who dreamed of making his big break on television. The French game show It's a Knockout had been a hit on TV since 1966, but it was the prince who turned it into a royal battle. The show was conceived for a good cause and actually raised £1.5 million for charity. Alas, the aristocratic establishment deemed the idea too eccentric. The conservatives shuddered. Where had anyone ever seen duchesses lugging a fake leek across the field while fleeing from John Travolta in a pumpkin costume? As royal expert Jenny Bond succinctly noted, it was a disaster from start to finish. An absolute pure humiliation. The final straw was an embarrassing moment at the press conference immediately following the shoot. Edward enthusiastically asked the journalists for their impressions, but was met only with an awkward, deathly silence. Flying into a rage, the prince stormed out of the room, sarcastically muttering, "Thank you for your enthusiasm." The newspapers, which were already critical of Edward, erupted with scathing cartoons depicting the Queen tearing her hair out in horror in front of the TV screen. Incidentally, Elizabeth II was indeed less than thrilled with her son's scheme. The fact that Edward deserted the army to join Lloyd Webber, while carefully shielding his private life from prying eyes, ended up backfiring on him. The ruthless tabloids of the 1980s began vying with one another to spread rumors about the prince's non-traditional sexual orientation. The situation reached the point of absurdity. A gay club even opened in London under the provocative name The Queen's Youngest Son. In their pursuit of a scoop, reporters resorted to a dirty trick. They sent a male model to Edward to flirt with him and test the prince's reaction. Finally, at one of the private parties, a journalist asked Edward point-blank if he was gay. He couldn't take it anymore. "This is simply outrageous and deeply unfair, both to me and to my family." The gossip didn't die down even after his marriage to Sophie Rhys-Jones. In 2001, a massive scandal erupted. A reporter for News of the World, posing as a wealthy Arab sheikh, secretly recorded a conversation with Sophie and her business partner. On the tape, the future countess spoke quite freely, criticizing politicians, discussing the royal family, and hinting that her status could help her client's business. To hush up the international scandal, Buckingham Palace struck a deal, granting the publication an exclusive interview. That's when the tabloid's cover featured the phrase that went viral around the world: "My Edward is not gay." Because of all the fuss, Sophie had to leave the PR business for good, and Edward had to shut down his TV company for good. Before tying the knot, the couple spent 6 whole years getting to know each other, and their relationship has now entered its 4th decade. In every interview, Edward invariably refers to his wife as his main and amazing support. Sophie herself gave an incredibly emotional speech at her husband's recent anniversary, calling him the best father, the most loving husband, and my best friend. Edward was moved to tears at the time, and this time, not a single newspaper in the world dared to make fun of him. Queen Elizabeth has always possessed remarkable insight, royal biographer Ingrid Seward shared a few years ago. She genuinely loved Sophie. Prince Philip adored her too. It was the Queen who, at the time, insisted that her daughter-in-law step out of the shadows. Give interviews, be in the public eye. You work incredibly hard, but no one notices it. Of course, after the 2001 spying scandal, relations with the monarchs cooled briefly. But, paradoxically, this crisis only brought the family closer together. In 2003, when Sophie suffered severe complications during her pregnancy, Elizabeth II personally visited her in the hospital, an unprecedented and exceptionally rare gesture on the part of a royal mother-in-law. In 2023, Edward officially assumed the title of Duke of Edinburgh, which his late father had held for many years. Along with this prestigious title came enormous responsibilities for the couple, including patronage of numerous foundations and the renowned youth award, the Duke of Edinburgh's Award. Sophie isn't slowing down either. She flies to India as part of anti-blindness missions, visits South Sudan, where she speaks openly about the issue of sexual violence against women, and in 2024 paid a visit to Ukraine, becoming the first member of the royal family to visit the country since the start of the military conflict. On average, the couple attends between 200 and 220 official engagements a year, which is nearly twice the workload of the future king, Prince William. Of course, their reputation isn't exactly spotless. The couple has a few skeletons in their closet. They have been accused of accepting fabulously expensive gifts from the Bahraini royal family, as well as suspiciously symbolic, virtually zero rent for luxurious accommodation at Bagshot Park. A similar story nearly ruined Prince Andrew. However, against the backdrop of the high-profile downfalls of the other Windsors, Edward's reputation appears virtually spotless. But peace is only a dream for them. Very soon, the scandalous book The Showgirl and the Prince, the memoirs of renowned West End actress Ruthie Henshall, will be published. Her whirlwind romance with Edward began in 1988, when the young star was shining in the musical Cats, and the prince himself was working in the same theater company, and lasted a full 5 years. According to Ruthie herself, while cleaning out her garage, she stumbled upon some old diaries and tender love letters that the prince had written to her in her youth, and decided to use them as the basis for her autobiography. Skeptics doubt the actress's sincerity, recalling how in 2020, on a reality TV show, Ruthie boasted without a hint of embarrassment that she had sex right in the bedrooms of Buckingham Palace. However, in official interviews, Henshall invariably speaks warmly of the monarchs, recalling how Elizabeth II welcomed her warmly and how Princess Diana asked her to sing for the whole family at Balmoral Castle. Despite assurances of goodwill, according to the reputable publication The Telegraph, the upcoming publication is causing serious panic among the royal household. Even if Edward comes across as a veritable angel in the pages of the book, the very fact that intimate letters are being made public is humiliating and has greatly dampened the prince's spirits, reports a source close to the royal court. Insiders whisper that Sophie is the most enraged of all, and her feelings are easy to understand. Adding spice to the situation is the fact that Ruthie has remained on excellent terms with her ex-lover all these years and even attended his wedding. Why she decided to air her dirty laundry right now, amid the protracted crisis surrounding Prince Andrew, and what is really behind this publishing move, remains a mystery for now.